Hare Krishna, dear viewers. Due to some technical difficulty, we have to start the live again. So, Jiva Tattva Prabhuji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Today we'll be studying SRIMADBHAGAVATAM, Canto 3, Chapter 17, Victory of Hiraṇyākṣa over all the directions of the universe. Please join us for Jai Radha Madhav praise. Hare Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी।
हरे कृष्णा डियर डिवोटीज, आप सबका स्वागत है, आप सबका अभिनंदन है।
Hare Krishna, dear viewers. Welcome everyone to today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. जीवा तत्व प्रभु जी श्रीमद् भागवतम क्लास में हमें चैप्टर लेवल पे सारे लेसन्स देते हैं। पूरे चैप्टर का एसेंस मिलता है हमें। और आज का जो चैप्टर है श्रीमद् भागवतम कैंटो 3 चैप्टर 17। और जीवा तत्व प्रभु जी हमें आजकल बता रहे हैं जय और विजय के जो पास टाइम्स हैं लॉर्ड के साथ। सो उनमें जो हमें लेसन्स मिलते हैं उनमें बहुत सारे लेसन्स हैं एक्चुअली। हाउ डू वी डील विद रिवर्सल्स ऑफ लाइफ, हाउ शुड वी अप्रोच भगवान विद ऑल अवर डिज़ायर्स, चाहे हमारे पास स्पिरिचुअल डिज़ायर्स हों, मटेरियल डिज़ायर्स हों। रिकमेंडेशन है वैष्णवाचार्यस का, वन शुड ऑलवेज कम टू कृष्णा डायरेक्टली, दैट इज द इंटेलिजेंट वे। सो पहले तो मैं आप सभी का स्वागत करना चाहती हूँ, स्पेशली द व्यूवर्स जो फर्स्ट टाइम आ रहे हैं श्रीमद् भागवतम के सेशन में। एट द एंड ऑफ द सेशन इन अबाउट 1 hour, 1 घंटे बाद आप अपने क्वेश्चंस पूछ सकते हैं कमेंट्स एरिया में। प्लीज़ अपने क्वेश्चंस टाइप करिए, आई कैन रीड देम टू प्रभु जी। अगर इससे पहले आप क्वेश्चंस लिखेंगे तो वो मिस हो सकते हैं, लेकिन आप सभी बहुत बहुत वेलकम हैं टू राइट योर ग्रीटिंग्स। यू कैन स्पीक आउट हरे कृष्णा, राधे राधे, जय श्री कृष्णा, वॉट एवर यू फील लाइक। अनन्याधर जी हरे कृष्णा, रतन कुमार जी हरि बोल, संजीव कुमार वशिष्ठ जी हरे कृष्णा, निवेदिता लक्ष्मी जी हरि बोल, अमल प्रभा जी हरे कृष्णा, ब्रजेश शर्मा जी kindly avoid putting any promotional messages here, क्योंकि आपके मैसेज हमें ब्लॉक करने पड़ेंगे, अकाउंट भी ब्लॉक हो सकता है। प्लीज डू नॉट डिस्टर्ब द सेशन, ओके। अनीता चौधरी जी, विकास गुप्ता जी, सदीक्षा जी हरे कृष्णा, रानू जी, नीरू जी, राजू जी, आशा पूर्णा जी, संजीव कुमार वशिष्ठ जी, मीना जी और बहुत सारे व्यूअर्स जिनके नाम स्क्रॉल कर गए हैं, आप सभी का बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन है। तो प्रभु जी प्लीज गो अहेड विद द क्लास। हरि बोल।
Hare Krishna dear devotees, please join us for Mangalacharan prayers. We'll sing them together. Om
नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं, देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। श्रोतां स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनः, हृदयन्तस्थो ह्यभद्राणि विदुनोति सुहृत्सतां। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया, भगवतीरुत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी।
Hare Krishna dear devotees, please join us in the recitation of the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 17.
1 minute, Prabhuji. Let me put on the microphone.
The chapter is Victory of Hiraṇyākṣa over all the directions of the universe. Text 1. Maitreya uvacha nishamyatma bhuvagitam karanam shankayongchitaha tatah sarve nivartanta tridivaya dikvokasaha. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Shri Maitreya said, the demigods, the inhabitants of the higher planets, were freed from all fear upon hearing the cause of the darkness explained by Brahma, who was born from Vishnu. Thus they all returned to their respective planets. Hare Krishna. There is a very... Yes. So please join us in the recitation of Guru Pranati. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshitarine Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tadaham Vande Shri Gurum Deenataranam Shri Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Kṛṣṇa Hare Kṛṣṇa 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 Hare 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 Rāma 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 Hare Hare. Hare Kṛṣṇa, dear devotees. So here we'll be focusing on, does Kṛṣṇa fulfill all material as well as spiritual desires, both kind of desires? So that is what we'll be covering. But in this chapter and next chapter, what has been described? The characteristics, the character traits of a person in demoniac mindset. That has been explained. कि जो दानवी जो sense gratification, demoniac mentality होती है, उसको कैसे हम समझ सकते हैं? इसके लिए नहीं कि हम दूसरों में आइडेंटिफाई करें, इसके लिए कि हम अपने नेचर को प्यूरिफाई करें. बिकॉज इट इज अस वी शुड बी मोर वरीड अबाउट देन अदर्स. चैरिटी बिगिंस एट होम. हम लोग सब समझते हैं कि चैरिटी जो है it starts with our improvement. So true charity is when we try to live the life based on the teachings coming directly from Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa in Bhagavad Gita, in SRIMADBHAGAVATAM, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and also in the company of sadhus and Shastra. So हम साधु गुरु और शास्त्र की सहायता से अपने जीवन को साधना चाहते हैं. राइट? इट इज़ वेरी इम्पोर्टेंट कि हम अपने जीवन का समाधान निकालना चाहते हैं. और समाधान क्या है? सिंपली हमें भक्ति योग में एंगेज रहना चाहिए. एवरी एक्टिविटी जो भी हम करते हैं भगवान को प्रसन्न करने के लिए, टू प्लीज़ कृष्णा, वी शुड कैरी दोज एक्टिविटीज आउट. उससे क्या होता है? हमारा प्यूरिफिकेशन होता है और भगवान भी खुश होते हैं, डिवोटीज भी खुश होते हैं. एंड अकॉर्डिंगली थिंग्स फॉल इन प्लेस. जस्ट लाइक सम, बट एट द सेम टाइम वी शुड बी रेडी टू सरेंडर. क्योंकि हम जब भगवान को खुश करना चाहते हैं, विच ऑल्सो मीन्स कि हमारी कुछ डिज़ायर है, भगवान की कुछ डिज़ायर है. वी शुड सरेंडर टू गॉड्स डिज़ायर. भगवान के डिज़ायर को सबमिट करना चाहिए, अपने आप को समर्पण करना चाहिए. और ये नहीं सोचना चाहिए कि हमें अपना एंडीवर नहीं करना है. वी शुड कंटिन्यू टू डू आवर एंडीवर इन द राइट मूड. तो previous two chapters, which was in third canto part 1 book, we covered where the last two chapters of this book is where the 15th and 16th chapters we heard about the glories of the qualities of devotees and how they are always humble, they are so tolerant. जो devotees होते हैं, जो भक्तजन होते हैं, सब कितने शांत, भगवान की भक्ति में लीन रहते हैं, भगवान की खुशी के लिए, to please Krishna, they act. So every action, so action can be performed three ways, right? By the body, by mind, and by words, speech. So body, mind, and words. So kaya, vach, and manaha. So these are the three ways that one can act. So they should all our actions, all our activities should be dovetailed to please Krishna. Otherwise, it will become useless labor, right? We don't want to engage in useless labor because it doesn't benefit us in this life or in the next. So we want to be very careful to engage in activities which are favorable for ourselves especially, and ultimately when we engage in devotional service, it becomes favorable for all living entities around us. Why? Because Lord is residing in everyone's heart. And when we are acting as per His instructions, then automatically all the other living entities will become satisfied. But do they always become satisfied? That is also an important matter. The first verse, Maitreya Muni is telling, Vidurji, Mahatma Vidur, that the demigods, the inhabitants of higher planets, जब अंधेरा छा गया, सूर्य और चंद्रमा की लालिमा कम हो गई, जब उनकी रोशनी was covered because of various kind of halos appearing around those planets, and also there were so many clouds causing blockage of sunlight and moonlight. तो क्या हुआ? All the universal affair was stopped, right? If you don't get light, then the plants can't grow, the trees can't grow, and if the plants and trees can't grow, then the we human beings as well as living entities, other living entities in the form of animals, aquatics and others, they will not be able to get proper nourishment. On top of that, lot of other things are also indirectly there, because from trees also we get oxygen. So all these affairs were getting affected. And so they had gone to Lord Brahma to ask, why is this darkness there? And we also understand that this was because Diti jo thi, Kashyapa Muni ke paas, in an evening she approached him, desiring son. Desiring a son, so Kashyapa Muni satisfied her, and she was pregnant. And he told her that you will bear two sons, actually twins, and both of them will be demons. So she became very anxious, because if her sons become demons, then what will happen? They will commit offenses against the devotees, against the brahmanas, against all the other living entities. And if they are cursed by a brahmana, then there is no solution to the curse. Now this is repeated. So when Lord Brahma, he was approached by the demigods, so Devta Ganai, Indra and other devtas. So when Lord Brahma ne kaha, actually Chatur Kumars had tried to visit Vaikuntha. So they had visited Vaikuntha, but they crossed the 6 gates, and on the 7th gate they saw these beautiful personalities, 2 doorkeepers, who stopped them from entering through the 7th gate. So in reality, they went to the Brahman region, but they could not enter Vaikuntha because it was after the 7th gate. And at that time, Lord Vishnu came running so that the sages are satisfied without entering, and at the same time, from Brahmanvadi they became Bhakta. At that time, they would experience change in their mind and body when they smell, when they got the fragrance, they smell the fragrance of tulsi leaves from the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. So there they realize that actually, the absolute truth, the original cause is a personal form of Lord Kṛṣṇa. So again, so this is where, as they realize it, yet at the same time, because the 2 doorkeepers had stopped them, they had cursed these doorkeepers to go to the material world. So this is another place we see actually a Brahmana has cursed the doorkeepers. Now, we understand from Diti's fear that doorkeeper, if someone is getting Brahmana's curse, then it cannot be nullified. Well, here the glories of Bhakti Yoga is there, that by engaging in Bhakti Yoga, so Lord Vishnu says, I sanction I ordain your, what you have desired, that these 2 will go to the material world, but they would very quickly come back to this abode, to Vaikuntha. Why? Because he is eager to get them back, because he tells the sages, Brahmana, Chatur Kumar has Sanak, Sanatan, Sanandana and Sanat Kumar, that yes, they will go there. And he indicates them that what they have done is actually an offense against him. Because he says, even if you ask me to chop off my arm, I will gladly do so. So hearing this, the Brahmanas realize that actually, by sending the 2 doorkeepers who are Lord's servants, his pure devotees, because everyone in Vaikuntha is a devotee, they had actually separated Lord from his loving devotees. So, this is an offense. We want to bring everyone to the shelter of Lord Kṛṣṇa, everyone to the shelter, to take back home, back to Godhead. And now they are going to the, Godhead, the, home, and now they are sending people, the residents of that Lord's home, to material world to suffer. So that is an offense, because they are separating Lord from his devotees. And they immediately realized it, and they understood that they were actually bitten by the snake of passion and ignorance. उनको तमस और रजोगुण के characteristics, रजोगुण का क्या characteristic है? Being lusty. And one of the reflection is desire, having desire for self gratification, right? So they were not happy that they were stopped from entering into Vaikuntha. So this desire was obstructed, this was not granted. So even though it's a pure desire, they understood that because they don't have pure Shuddha Sattva, pure mode of goodness, which is transcendental phase, they still were inflicted by a mix within the mode of goodness by Tamoguna and Rajaguna. The desire is in Rajaguna, and the anger that, small children, if you don't give them something they desire very much, they become angry. So they became angry and they cursed these two doorkeepers. So ऐसे में जो गुस्सा है, that is in Tamoguna, so tamas. And so they realized this, and they glorified the Lord, and at the same time, when they heard that Lord is saying in this manner, that Brahmanas are highly regarded by me, and if I worship Brahmanas, I put the lotus dust on my head, then who can deny them? And so they are surprised that actually Lord is so merciful. So this is showing, Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. So again, Lord Krishna says that He is our benefactor, He is our well-wisher, He is our best friend. And He's showing to the Chaturkumars that even though they had cursed Him, He was, showing that how much He loves them, how much He, regards them high as Brahmanas, how much affection He has for them, that He does not get upset. But they could derive with inference that what they have done is a great offense at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. So here, when they realized it, and Lord said that yes, you can, I ordain it. So they were surprised, what is Lord going to do? So at that time, understanding that, Lord has a plan, they circumambulated the Lord, touched His lotus feet, and they returned back to the material universe. What has happened? At that time, after the sages left, Lord Vishnu says, I can nullify this curse, but I don't want to. Because you too had stopped Lakshmi when I was, she left me. So sometimes Goddess Lakshmi, to please her devotees, she even leaves the service of Lord Vishnu to, please her devotees. So that's why Tulsi is regarded even higher, because she never moves from the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna. So these are the glories के तुलसी देवी जो है उनको ज़्यादा हायर पोजीशन दी गई है, उनको हाईली रिगार्ड करते हैं भगवान कृष्ण लॉर्ड विष्णु के वो ज़्यादा भक्त हैं, उनकी ज़्यादा अनन्य भक्त हैं, उनके प्योर डिवोटी हैं. और जब लक्ष्मी देवी वापस आई उस समय लॉर्ड विष्णु सो रहे थे. सो दीज टू डोर कीपर्स अंडरस्टैंडिंग दैट लॉर्ड he's sleeping and his sleep may be disturbed by the entrance. If Lakshmi Devi enters, she's wearing these anklets and the bangles and all, so that may disturb his sleep. So they did not let her enter. They said that Lord is sleeping, you cannot enter. So Goddess Lakshmi जब बाद में मिली तो उन्होंने भगवान विष्णु से कहा कि ये आपके जो द्वापर हैं उन्होंने मुझे रोका. So you must punish them, right? Sometimes when a wife says something to a husband that she is affected, she is offended by someone, a husband has to act. Yet at the same time, Lord Vishnu is so amazing, Lord Krishna is so amazing that his one action satisfies many beings. So he is allowing the curse, satisfying the Brahmanas, the Chaturkumaras. He is punishing them as per Goddess Lakshmi, because she is also present at this incident when these two doorkeepers were cursed. So Goddess Lakshmi is getting pleased. And these two doorkeepers, they wanted to have a fight with the Lord. They had this desire to fight with the Lord. But, Hare Krishna. So again, they had this desire to fight with the Lord. So even that is taken care of. And so again, having this desire to fight with the Lord is going to be taken care of, because Lord says that you will remember me, you will constantly remember me in anger, and I will quickly bring you back. So Lord himself is also seeking that, okay, in Vaikuntha he cannot fight with anyone. So to enjoy that secondary rasa, so there are 7 secondary rasas, of which, this mood of anger, the mood of fighting, that comes with the wrestling or fight, is also there in Lord. That's why in Golok Vrindavan, Lord Kṛṣṇa, he plays with his cowherd friends, and sometimes they wrestle with each other. And he allows Sri Rāma, the brother of Radharani, to win. That way, he also enjoys. Now, even though Lord Kṛṣṇa, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he can defeat. But he enjoys being defeated by his devotees. Just like a father and sons, they are fighting, and sometimes father accepts, in the wrestling, "Theek hai, you have won, yes, you are on top of me." And the father is lying on his back, "I am flat, I have lost, the match." So similarly, he enjoys seeing these various kind of expressions and various kind of, it's jubilant, it's transcendental bliss that everyone is experiencing. So similarly here, these two personalities, Jaya and Vijaya, the doorkeepers at Vaikuntha, they descend. So they lose their body luster because now they have to go to the material universe. They understand a material universe is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. It's a place of misery and everything is temporary in this world. So when Lord Brahma, he explains this, then he says, what can I do? These are the two sons of Diti. The doorkeepers Jaya Vijay from Vaikuntha planet have descended. And it is because of their demonic influence that this darkness is there and everything is disrupted. So what can we do? Because Lord has to do, right? So we should just pray. So that is an indication that we should just pray. But this first verse confuses people, because this first verse, Maitreya Muni kya keh rahe hain? कि जो inhabitants of higher heavenly planets हैं, ये जो demigods हैं, Indra, Agni Dev and others, Vayu Dev and others, they were freed from all fear. Now the interesting thing is, they were free from all fear upon hearing the cause of darkness, as explained. So they understood that there is Lord's desire, so there is no need to fear. Lord wants to come here, in this material universe, to have a fight, to take back his two doorkeepers. He is more eager to take his, loving associates back home, right? So again, it will, in the due course of time, it will be taken care of. Yet at the same time, they have to perform their duties to run the administration of this material universe, to manage the affair of this material universe. So from that perspective, they are contemplating that, okay, how do we take care of that? Because there will be influence. When they are in the womb, then there is so much influence. When they come out, you can imagine what will be the influence. So when people realize that these two sons of Diti, they are also called Daityas. Daitya means sons of Diti, and Adityas means sons of Aditi. And Aditi and Diti, they have the same husband, Kashyapa Muni. So here we hear that, jab Devta Gana ne suna, so they became freeless because they are devotees. They surrendered to the will of God, and they understood that Lord ordained these two doorkeepers to come to this material world. So whatever will happen, Lord will take care of it. So there are sometimes, reversals happen in life. Just day before yesterday, right after the class, my laptop crashed. Microsoft sent out a big OS update, and it just crashed my laptop. It first hung, so, and then it crashed. And what you do is simply surrender to the will of the Lord. And since then, the reset of the laptop is going on. And interesting enough, Lord arranges everything very nicely. All we have to do is surrender to His will. So all of a sudden, another machine, another laptop I had that was never working, started working. And I'm like, see, we have to just surrender to the lotus feet of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa and everything becomes possible. And all of a sudden, I was able to do all my work. And I was so surprised that this is amazing. This machine never used to work. It started working. That machine was something I was relying on. It stopped working, literally crashed. It's been trying to install OS for over 24 hours. So again, whatever Lord's desire, that will happen. So we all have our various desires, right? So there were desire of Chatur Kumaras. They had a spiritual desire to enter into Vaikuntha. Did that desire get fulfilled? No. Why did not that get fulfilled? Because they realized that they were not in pure Shuddha Sattva. They were not in that pure mode of goodness. The mode of goodness is material mode, one of the material mode. Pure mode of goodness is Shuddha Sattva. It's a transcendental stage, right? Brahman is, that stage. So again, to be able to come to that stage, they realized that they were not at that stage fully, because what is the characteristic of a person who is in Brahman stage? Brahma bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati samah sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhakti labhate param. So there are 5 characteristics. Brahma bhuta prasannatma. So at Brahman stage, first is one is always jubilant, prasannatma. Na shochati, he does not lament about the past. Na kankshati, he does not aspire आगे की भविष्य में आकांक्षाएं नहीं रखता. He does not aspire for something in the future. Samah sarveshu bhuteshu, and he is equally disposed towards all living entities, understanding that Lord Kṛṣṇa resides in everyone's heart as super soul, as Paramatma. And Mad Bhakti Labhate Param, Lord Kṛṣṇa reveals in Bhagavad Gita that such a person is constantly engaged in my devotional service. So they understood that aspect, that they were not at that stage, so they returned back. They gave up that desire because they understood the desire of Lord is that they don't enter. So this is where sometimes we have so many signs given in our life where we understand that Lord works in mysterious ways. He is unlimited, we are limited. How can we measure something which is limited, with something that is unlimited? Very simple example can be given. You can teach a child how to measure with a scale. And then you say, okay, you have this scale, you can measure? The child will say yes. Now measure the distance between earth and moon. Now can the child do that? Why? Because he doesn't have other abilities that is required to measure the distance between earth and moon. You have given him a scale to measure the distance, yes. Similarly, we have limited capabilities, we have limited qualities, and he is unlimited. How can you measure with limited qualities and unlimited being? That's why it's achintya bheda bheda tattva. So that's why living entities, simultaneously one and different, same as different. Why? Because we get all the qualities from Lord Kṛṣṇa, but in minute quantity, right? So all our qualities that we get are coming from Lord Kṛṣṇa, but he has unlimited qualities. We have limited qualities, but they are all parusham nishu, on the ability in man, Lord Kṛṣṇa says. So it is very clear, okay, we have to surrender to the desire of Lord Kṛṣṇa. And the 2 doorkeepers, they came to the material world because they understood that while it's a curse by the Brahmanas, while it is a punishment because of Goddess Lakshmi complaining about us, right? And even though Lord is saying, he is allowing us to fulfill our desire. So it is very interesting that they were in Vaikuntha, but they had a desire to fight with the Lord, and Lord understood that desire, so he sends in the material universe his associates, his pure devotees, so that he can also enjoy. So there is a desire of Lord which happens to be in alignment with the desire of these 2 doorkeepers. So their desire is going to be fulfilled, as we'll hear in the next 3 chapters, this chapter and next 2 chapters. Yet at the same time, Goddess Lakshmi, she had the desire that these 2 doorkeepers be punished. They are also fulfilled. So everything seems to be perfectly in harmony. However, now the desire of demigods to run their business as they used to is interrupted, because they understood that in the womb they have this effect, and it is Lord's desire, so they surrendered to Lord's desire. So that's why they were fearless, and they were planning as how to run the affair of this universe, understanding that these 2 demons who are going to appear, they are actually devotees of the Lord, and they are coming in this mood so that Lord would have. So again, there are many amazing lessons they are hidden. And this chapter and the next chapter, we hear about the characters, the characteristics of a demoniac person through the example of these 2 demons, Daityas. Yet at the same time, even though they are Daityas, Acharyas explain that they are still under the shelter of Yoga Maya. Mahatmanastu mampata devim prakritimashaya. So they are constantly meditating on the Lord, and even though they are appearing as demons, they are amazing demons, not the demons of today's times. Means today's time, the demons have increased in quantity, but not of the demonic quality like these two have. So again, we will be looking at some of these examples to understand how does a demon think, and what happens in this material world when demons, they descend, or people. Now, who's a demon? Right? It's very easy to say, yes, devotees and non-devotees. So devotees are demigods, they are always worshipping Lord Vishnu, Lord Kṛṣṇa, and demons or non-devotees, they are seeking sense gratification. Very simple example is, the focus of these two groups are completely different. Sadhus, the devotees, they keep Lord Kṛṣṇa in the center, and everything they do is to please Lord Kṛṣṇa. The demons put their senses in the center. So everything they do is for their sense gratification, in the tripti, right? So to satisfy their senses. Yet at the same time, devotees, they are always satisfied when they are pleasing Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. While demons, they are always hankering, they are always in anxiety, they are always unsatisfied, they are always disturbed. They feel a huge void in their heart. So they run after name, fame and glories, right? And when they are running after name, fame and glories, that's like running after a mirage in the desert. And when you chase a mirage, even though you reach the spot where you thought the mirage was, there is nothing. So they become more and more frustrated. But since they are seeking name, fame and glories, they try to build up various material qualities to attract other innocent beings. And they are actually doing a disservice. They are actually doing something that distracting people away from Krishna consciousness, away to material consciousness. And people say, oh, such a person is very rich, such a person is very attractive looking, such a person is a great speaker, he speaks very affluently, oh, such a person, he is very knowledgeable. But these are not the qualifications to be able to help us in our journey back home, back to Godhead. Yes, when Lord Kṛṣṇa ordains them, they should be used in His service, not to be used for sense gratification from, like skin deep beauty to attract people, but rather they should be used in Krishna consciousness so Lord Kṛṣṇa is satisfied. So we understood the essence of how a devotee behaves and how a demon behaves. And a demon, because seeking name, fame and glory, is running after mirage, is always dissatisfied. He is always hankering for more, and that is visible. So now, when these two personalities, Hiraṇyākṣa and Hiraṇyākṣa, they are born. So again, it is very nicely given, and nice references have been given by Srila Prabhupada that actually, when the twins are born, Hiraṇyākṣa was conceived first, then Hiraṇyākṣa. So Hiraṇyākṣa came out from the womb first, and then Hiraṇyākṣa came. And so that is how Hiraṇyākṣa was the elder brother, and Hiraṇyākṣa was the younger brother. So again, as they took birth, right at the time of their birth, there were great disturbances on the earthly planets and the heavenly planets and in between. Why? Why is this disturbances visible here? Because below the earthly planets to the hellish planets, there is always constant disturbance. That is already there. So it's very difficult to understand if these disturbances are caused because of the birth of these demons or not. One another lesson that we learn is that when we see a lot of calamities in the nature and in this world, then it's also an indication that a lot of demoniac people are, souls are taking birth. They have this demoniac propensity to seek sense gratification. That is materialistic mindset, right? Seeking sense gratification. Because in reality, senses are like, snakes. And as Acharyas explained, if you give milk to a snake, try to satisfy a snake by giving milk. All you do is you increase its venom. So it will bite you and poison you. So that's not very intelligent. Another very nice example Acharyas give is like you have a fire going on, so the senses are burning like fire, and in that trying to satisfy senses like putting clarified butter, ghee. जब हम आग में डालते हैं तो आग तो अब भड़कती है. It doesn't calm down, or it doesn't extinguish, of course, unless you put so much ghee that it completely disconnects the fire from air. At that time, yes. So that is another extreme. Either we should try to do zero, which is easier, because by engaging in Krishna Bhakti, automatically we become pleased, and we have a higher taste, so we don't want to get in that direction. But there are examples, like in the case of Yayati, he was engaging so much gratification that it was over for him, it was too much, and he renounced at that moment, because of too much gratification. So even that is like where there is a complete disconnect, the barrier is there, where the air is not there and fire cannot survive without air. So that's another example. But don't go in that direction, because that's not a direction that will be favorable. Because, then again you need mercy of Krishna, so that he gives you unlimited. And if you are trying to put an endeavor, that means he is not giving you unlimited. So agree with that understanding that yes, by taking to bhakti, everything is automatically coming, and we are actually going in a favorable speed, in a favorable direction, in a favorable mood of humility and gratitude. That's the mood of a devotee. What's the mood of a demon? Lust, anger and greed. And we hear in Bhagavad Gita, what does Lord Krishna says? Lust, anger and greed are the three gates to hell. So we don't want to suffer in hellish planets. Why should we take this path? Intelligent person would immediately understand and take to Krishna consciousness. So here, when they are born, there are amazing disturbances. There are so many earthquakes and floods around the around the line of various mountains. Now in North India we hear about so many earthquakes and so many floods that came, right? In recent years, the earthquake happened in Kathmandu area, Nepal area was devastating, and near Vaishno Devi area, Badrinath area, there were so many earthquakes and floods coming. So we should be understanding that these are indications that the demoniac population is increasing. People are seeking sense gratification. Another indication given here is that the devotees, they are worshippers of Lord Krishna, while demons who are seeking sense gratification, their focus is sense gratification. तो अपने sense को gratify करने के लिए they are worshipping the demigods. Now one example is given, Srila Prabhupada refers to this, and we also hear in the 10th canto, that Lord Shiva, as we understand, Rāma was his devotee, so he used to worship Lord Shiva, so that he gets, amazing power, and he can defeat the demigods, who are actually, servants of Lord Shiva. They regard Lord Shiva very highly. So, he is attacking them, so that's another example. And so there was one demon by the name Bhasbasur. So he, worshipped Lord Shiva. He was cutting off his body parts and putting it in fire oblation. So as he was about to cut off his head, Lord Shiva, he appeared. He said, don't do that. And he, blessed him so that his body was again like original. And he said, what do you want? And so this demon asked that whoever's head I put my hand, that person's head should burst into 1,000 pieces. Lord Shiva understood that this is a demoniac, desire, because he wants to just show that he is so, powerful. He wants to be victorious in every situation. So, being merciful, Bholanathji, he granted him that wish. Okay, so be it. What does he do? He looks at Lord Shiva, and right beside him is Goddess Parvati. And he says, oh, if I kill Lord Shiva, I can enjoy Parvati. So this is the mindset of a demonic person. So he wants to put his hand on top of the head of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva, realizing that he just gave him the bone, he's running away. So this is the mindset of a demon, that he wants to enjoy what belongs to the Lord, right? What belongs to others. So first they worship such personalities, right? So again, many people, they worship Vaishno Devi. They go and they make various offerings to seek sense gratification. That I should get promotion, I should become very rich, I should have a son, I should have a big house, I should have a nice wife, and everything should be very nicely going on in my life. Yes, and Vaishno Devi does grant all these wishes. But are they sensible wishes? Are they desirable wishes? Sometimes the desires people have are undesirable, but they don't know, right? So how to be desireless? Desireless is like not seeking sense gratification, but seeking to please Lord Kṛṣṇa. That is what devotees mean when we talk about, or the acharyas talk about being desireless. It's not having a desire for sense gratification, but to having a desire to serve Lord Kṛṣṇa and his devotees. So that is what is important to understand the difference. Now they go to Vaishno Devi, not realizing the Vaishno, her name itself means the devotee of Lord Vishnu. And then they commit all kind of offenses against the devotees. So will Vaishno Devi be happy to see that these people, they are committing so many offenses against the devotees? No. Rather, they have this demonic mindset, so she keeps them in her Durg. Durg is the jail, right? That's why her name is Durga. She is the superintendent of this material world, and she keeps these living entities in this material world itself. And so they go through the, like a Ferris wheel. Sometimes they go to higher planetary systems, sometimes they suffer in hellish condition. Now, going in a Ferris wheel up and down is not very intelligent. So we all understand. Every person who is sober and who is intelligent would understand that this is not favorable. Punah charvita charvanam, always chewing the chewed. They're constantly suffering. When they go to a higher planetary system, they want more, so they are thrown in, because they engage in sinful activities, trying to get more, they are thrown into hellish conditions, suffer. Then they get an opportunity, a rare, after 8.4 million yonis, they get this human form of life. They engage it in all kind of sense gratification and seeking more. Maybe they rise to higher planetary systems, heavenly planets. Devan Deva Yojayanti. Lord Kṛṣṇa says that the worshipper of demigods, they go to the demigods planets after their life. But this is flickering, and they are actually worshipping me indirectly, he's saying. They are worshipping my devotees. But they are seeking it from the sense gratification perspective, not to please Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa, not to please the devotee, but their own sense gratification. So the mood is important, and Lord is Bhav Grahi Janadana. He knows the bhav in our heart. Sometimes devotees, we joke, and especially when we are making an offering. We are making an offering with love, yet at the same time knowing that Lord Kṛṣṇa knows that what I am offering is not as important as what I am holding back. So we try to see that we don't hold back anything. We are with an open heart. We want to offer with love, with gratitude, with devotion. So with that mood, we try to please the Lord, because in our heart, He is residing as Paramatma, as Super Soul. So when these two demons were born, at that time, calamities were happening all over the universe, earthly planets and all the way up to the heavenly planets. And that was an indication. The Saturn planet appeared with all the meteors happening all over the places. So again, the Mars and Saturn planets, these two planets are inauspicious planets. While, there is Jupiter, Venus, and Buddha, right? Mercury. These are auspicious planets. Sun, Moon, these are auspicious planets. So the inauspicious planets were shining brighter. They were having a stronger influence, while the auspicious planets were reducing in their influence. Their shine was going away. So that is what is shown. And very quickly, these two personalities, Hiraṇyākṣa and Hiraṇyākṣa, they were growing big, and here they were looking very powerful. They were growing like mountains, and in that manner, they were continuing to seek. The Hiranya, both of them had the names with the word Hiranya in there, which means gold. Hiraṇyākṣa means the one who has an eye for gold. So he's always seeking out gold, and with his prowess he's taking it away, right? He's following that principle of jiski lathi uski bhais, right? But strength is not a measure of intelligence. Sometimes we talk about various nations which are superpowers. Back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, there was this Cold War going on between Russia and America, and of course, America became victorious during the Cold War. But that's about strength. What about intelligence? Intelligence is a different matter. Your strength is not a measure of your intelligence. Intelligence is in taking to Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Has the nation taken to Kṛṣṇa consciousness? That's the important question. have we individually become more Krishna conscious? That is an important lesson. Are we going in the right direction, or are we chasing a mirage in the wrong direction? So that is an important question we should be answering. We should be seeking what is making us unhappy. Oh, maybe our desires are away from the desires of Lord Krishna. That's why we are getting frustrated again and again. So that is another way. Many times, sometimes people say, how come a bad person is getting all promotions? How come a bad person is getting all fame? How come such a person, many of the celebrities in today's times, they have done all kind of abominable things. Yet at the same time, they are regarded very highly, they are respected very highly. But by whom? By people with the same mindset, who have similar qualities. And of course, when it comes to the demigods versus demons, devotees versus non-devotees, Srila Prabhupada gave a very simple example. One devotee, he asked him, one of his disciples, that Srila Prabhupada, how can this planet Earth can become Vaikuntha? Srila Prabhupada said that 2%, केवल 2% जो population है ना, अगर वो Krishna conscious हो जाए, then this whole planet will be Vaikuntha. Now is 2% majority? Definitely not. 98% can remain demoniac. That's what he's saying. 98% can stay demoniac, but if 2% of population becomes Krishna conscious, then this planet Earth would become Vaikuntha. That is the potency of the presence of a devotee, that he can make a place Vaikuntha where the majority may be demons. So we should understand from that perspective. Also raises a very interesting, it reminds me of a very interesting scenario. So once Srila Prabhupada, he was, after his lecture, SRIMADBHAGAVATAM lecture said, if you become 90% Krishna conscious, you will go back to Vaikuntha. Now the devotees put their heads down. They're like, Srila Prabhupada, this again, 90%? Srila Prabhupada said, okay, 80%. 80% of you become Krishna conscious, you will go back to Vaikuntha. Still some heads went down. And so Srila Prabhupada said, okay, 70%. 70%, if you become Krishna conscious 70%, then you will all go back home, back to Godhead. Now at that time, devotees, they raised their hands and said, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. So as Srila Prabhupada was walking back to his quarters, a devotee, one of his disciples was walking with him. And he said, Srila Prabhupada, I don't think I can even become 70% Krishna conscious. Srila Prabhupada at that time, what did he say? Meri dhoti pakad ke chalo. You just hold on to my dhoti, right? And I have a key to the back door. So again, this is what an acharya can do. This is what a guru can do. That when we don't have qualification, he can be so merciful that he can make a plea on our behalf that Lord Krishna will accept us and purify us by his association. And many times, जब Srila Prabhupada start करते थे, he would say, you may be impure, I may be impure, but the message is pure because we are directly associating with Krishna, who is all pure. I'm paraphrasing. So we all become pure when we share this message. So these two demons, and Hiraṇyākṣa means one who has eye for gold. Hiraṇyākṣa, Hiranya means gold. So of course he has a great affection, attraction towards gold. But Kashipu also refers to soft bedding. So he wanted to enjoy his senses, and the biggest shackle in this material world is, the sensual pleasures. So again, that's what he was looking for. So from that perspective, and Hiraṇyākṣa was always trying to satisfy Hiranyakashipu. So these personalities, these two demons became so, but in reality they are devotees under the influence of Yogamaya acting as demons. But we learn the demonic propensities, the characteristics of a demon. What are the character traits of a demon? What kind of qualities, what kind of mindset, what kind of, inclination they show. We learn from them. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that a demonic person thinks that I have defeated my enemies and I will also defeat others. I will become the Lord of all that I pervade. Right? That's the mentality. And everyone will regard me very highly, will worship me. So those are the desires of a demonic person seeking sense gratification. Their senses are in the center. So these two personalities were so powerful, and when they would stand and walk, the whole earth would tremble. And sometimes this, Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, makes someone thinks very nicely, because they can make the whole earth tremble. The earth shakes when they step on the ground. And Their head seems to be touching the skies, scattering the clouds in the sky. They were very tall and very strong. So this is what a person, he's looking at the external appearance to grow. That is a demonic mentality. What should be growing is purifying our heart, purifying our very existence. We should be looking at pleasing Krishna. और जब हम कृष्णा को प्लीज करते हैं तो ऑटोमेटिकली हम अंदर से भी स्वच्छ होते हैं. We don't have to become strong. Yes, we have to take care of the body. हमें अपने शरीर का हेल्दी रखना चाहिए because a healthy mind resides in a healthy body. That's a fact. But we don't do over endeavor. Rather, हम भगवान की भक्ति में रहते हैं ताकि हमारा affection, attraction, attention, absorption grows in the right direction towards Lord Shri Krishna, so that we can, continue to pray to him that please take us back home, please get us back home. Now these two demons, they were very powerful. All demigods knew that these two are actually doorkeepers of Vaikuntha who had appeared here as demons. So when Hiraṇyākṣa, he went on, अपना winning campaign पे he walked on. And he had defeated many armies. So he directly made a march towards Indralok. And when he went to Indralok, Indralok was all empty. Because when Lord Brahma says to Indra and other demigods, that what can we do if this is ordained by God, Lord? What can Indra do? He leaves our body. So again, he has left his kingdom and he is, all the demigods, they are scattered, walking incognito. And at that time, he goes to Vibhavaripuri. Vibhavaripuri is the home of Varuna. Varuna is the demigod of the ocean, so he commands the oceans, the water bodies. So at that time, he says to Varuna, you have defeated many Daityas, many descendants of Ditis, that's what he's referring. And you have also defeated many demons. So my dear Lord, so he is in a worshipable mode, he's praying, but he's praying in a way for his sense gratification so that he can acquire, he can show that he is more powerful than Varun ji. तो ऐसे में उसने वरुण जी को प्रार्थना करा, but that प्रार्थना is a demonic mentality. So even the prayers that we do, we should understand that we should not be doing the prayers in demonic mentality for self gratification, but rather praying to please Lord Krishna. Those should be the prayers that brings us close and others closer to Lord Krishna. So he's saying, give me a battle, my Lord. So first he is saying, Hiraṇyākṣa is saying to Varun Dev that, my Lord, oh my Lord, you're the Lord of the ocean, you're the Lord of the seas, you're the Lord of all the water bodies. So first he is glorifying with the mindset that I want to become more powerful than you. So devotees have this mindset of dasanu, dasanu, das. And the demons have this mindset of boss and new boss and a boss and a new boss. So again, these are two different extremes. We are somewhere in between, right? We are trying to come over to this direction. Just like a pendulum goes, and we are somewhere in between. So we should be more careful in going in the direction of devotion than in the direction of commotion, right? Because there is all chaotic situations exist here. And no one is happy. But this is where the majority is. Remember, 2% population, if becomes Krishna conscious, even the 98% is demoniac, the planet Earth will become Vaikuntha. Right there, majority does not matter, right? And so it is very important that even when we follow democracy or whatever system, sometimes people have to understand that majority does not matter. What matters is, are people educated enough to make the right decision? And most of the time we see in this material world, that is what is lacking, and that's why there is so much distress. Pandemic happened was a sign. Many demonic personalities are taking birth in this material world. All kind of sufferings happening all over the place. Demonic personalities are taking birth. Now these two brothers, the twins, they would always be bedecked with a lot of gold, silken clothes and all that. And they would always be seeking and getting glorified by others. So he is going to, Vibhavaripuri, where he challenges Lord Varun Dev, the Lord of the oceans, of the water bodies. And Varun Dev at that time, understanding the mentality, the mindset of this demon, Hiraṇyākṣa, he says that, well, now that we have given away. We are not desirable. Rather, we have gone old. So if a young person goes to an old person and challenges that old person, that's not a very good challenge. So he's actually using the demonic mindset of Hiraṇyākṣa to make him understand that it would not be his glorification if he, with his full body in a youthful stage, defeats an old man. That will not be glorification. Rather, he says, you should fight with the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, because that would be a perfect, that would be at your caliber. That would be a contender. If you are looking to have real challenge, then you should fight with someone who is more powerful. And I'm sure that you will be defeated easily, that you will meet your death. Now this is a challenge. So he throws a challenge. He does not accept the challenge, but then because Hiraṇyākṣa, being a demonic person, again at Vibhavaripuri, as a demonic person, he may still try to fight with Varudev, but Varudev has completely nullified him by saying, your true challenge should be not towards me, but towards Lord Vishnu. And this is where Srila Prabhupada says that, demonic person thinks that Lord Kṛṣṇa, he is appearing as a human being. So again, he has a material body, but Lord Kṛṣṇa, in whichever form he appears, he is always transcendental. So, right, Manushim Tanum Ashritam. So again, this is what a demonic person thinks, that Lord has appeared in a human body and he is a material body, and there is a difference. And this is where some of the Mayavadis, why Mayavadis are considered offenders at the lotus feet of Lord Kṛṣṇa. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, this concept is very nicely explained. And the basic aspect is this. This is where actually, a very nice conversation has been referred in the Shastras by the Acharyas. There is a conversation happening between a devotee and a Mayavadi, right? The devotee asks the Mayavadi, so what is your goal? Mayavadi says, I want to become desireless, not have any desire. So the devotee says, so how do you plan to attain that, right? There must be a plan to become desireless. Yes, he says that I want to merge into Brahman. So the devotee asks, why do you want to merge into Brahman? Because Brahman Satya, Jagat Mithya. So when I merge into Brahman, then I am absolute truth. So you want to become absolute truth? The Mayavadi is literally surprised. Yes, that's what it means, right? That I want to become absolute truth. So the devotee says, first of all, you don't become desireless by doing that, because that is a desire to merge into Brahman. And second is, merging into Brahman, what would you want to do while merging into Brahman? Do you intend to, if somebody says, okay, Vishnu, he is Brahman, actually he is Par-Brahman, right? He is even beyond Brahman, he is the cause of Brahman. So if you want to merge into Lord Vishnu and get Sayujya Mukti, what would that give you? So the person is saying, because I am suffering in this world, I want to enjoy, so I don't want to do any activity here, I want to merge into Brahman. So this is Gyan Yogi. He is using the intelligence, he is understanding that this is, what, Jagat Mithya, Brahma Satya. But he doesn't know fully how that Satya can be realized, how to come to that Brahma Bhuta stage. Bhagavad Gita is there. You should read Bhagavad Gita. You come to know that Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. The person in Gyan Yoga wants to get to the Brahman stage, but a person in Brahman stage will always engage in devotional service. So he understands, okay, I have to become a devotee. It's not that devotional service is dependent on any of the other yoga systems. All of the yoga systems are actually dependent on devotional service. Very interesting is Ashtanga yogis. They are, when Arjun hears about it, that you have to perform asanas, pratyahara and all this to come to samadhi stage, it's like, it's very difficult. I can control the wind, but I cannot, do all these things. And what does Lord Kṛṣṇa says? Yogi nam api sarvesham madgate nadaratmana shaddavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mataha. So, topmost yogi is one who is always engaged in my devotional service, bhaja. Bhaj is not worship. Worship is puja. Right? Bhaj is much larger, which refers to, which is synonym for devotional service. So, constantly engaging in devotional service. Man mana bhav mad bhakto madhya jibam namaskuru. So that is, so even Ashtanga Yogi is dependent on bhakti, coming to the level of devotional service. Then Karma Yogi. Karma Yogi is the one who is engaging in all activities in connection with Kṛṣṇa. So when you are engaging all your activities to pacify Kṛṣṇa, it is devotional service. So if you are trying to satisfy your senses, then it is binding to this material world, and you have to suffer, and that's the stage of a karmi, not of a karma yogi. Interestingly, people, they refer to this shloka as saying that we are karma yogi. Karmaṇyākṣa ma phaleshu kadachana. They focus on the first phrase, karmaṇyākṣa. I have the right to perform all my duties. Ma phaleshu kadachana, the second part of the phrase, they don't want to, first line, the second part, they don't want to hear that. Because what does it mean? You are not entitled to the fruits of your labor. But they engage in activity to enjoy the fruits of the labor. So again, that's the karmi, a demoniac mindset. We should give up that mindset and say we should do all activities, to please Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. And all activities can be divided into three categories: sacrifice, austerity, and charity. And sometimes some activities have two or more of these, right? All of these. So this is very, very important, and that's why devotees, we take to the chanting of the holy name, so that we are engaging in the Sankirtan Yajna, the Yajna for this age, yet at the same time it's a prayer devotional service, at the same time it's an austerity that we are not doing any mundane things, and at the same time it is a charity from the perspective that we are being charitable to our own benefit. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Hare Rāma, Rāma Rāma, Hare Hare. So that's why devotees are very subtle. They stand as radar, yet at the same time they understand the purpose of this human birth, which is very rare. And we should, every moment, we should be conscious of this fact, so that hum apna rasta quickly cross kar sake, we get love of Godhead, and engaging in devotional service in that mood of love, with devotion, with affection, with that mindset, we can please Kṛṣṇa with all our activities. And so Lord Kṛṣṇa, he fulfills the material and spiritual desires based on one's abilities and endeavors. So again, there are qualities that we get because of the past karmas and all the other, the cycle of, the influence of the three modes of material nature. We are put in a specific situation based on our past karmas in this material world. So yes, material desires are fulfilled, and at the same time, if we have his spiritual desires, then Lord Kṛṣṇa is more pleased when they are in alignment with his desires. So now Hiraṇyākṣa, being incited by Varunadev, he's like saying, yes, it won't be much glory for me if I defeat an old man. I want to defeat Vishnu. So this is where this chapter ends, where his mindset is always hankering for this challenge. He's winning in all directions. Now it is very interesting. Once he gets into the water, before going to the Vibhavari Puri, the abode of Lord Varun, he gets into the ocean and he starts twisting. And he starts, just by his twisting, starts doing, this is to show his prowess. That's what he's doing. But he doesn't know that later on, his brother's son's again great-grandson, they would be doing Samudra Manthan with the demigods. If he knew that, he would have started Samudra Manthan right then and there, because he received a boon from Lord Brahma which made him so proud that he would not be killed. First he tried to get him a boon of immortality. That didn't happen. So at that time, he said, at least give me a boon that I will not be killed by these personalities. And he named all living entities except one, Varaha, boar. Because he said, Varaha is such a dirty animal. He doesn't want to bring his name. Now this is Goddess Saraswati playing with him, right? Because she makes that name not be considered by him, so that Lord has an opportunity and he comes as Varahadev. So this is where this chapter ends. So yes, materialists have various plans, But at the end, all their plans are destroyed. Lord Krishna says, time I am the devourer of all things, right? That as time personified, using his external potency of time, he can devour everything. So everything in this material world is temporary in nature. Doesn't just mean the living entities, it means the planets, it means the various universes, everything is temporary. So we should understand that yes, various kind of material and spiritual desires may be fulfilled by the Lordship or may be rejected, but we need to be purifying ourselves so that all our spiritual desires are fulfilled, which are eternal in nature, and not run after sparks in the dark, which are like the materialistic desires for sense gratification. This is where the chapter ends. Gatra SRIMADBHAGAVATAM ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhagavad ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Hare Kṛṣṇa.
Hare Krishna. We have 2 minutes, so maybe we can take one question. So we have one question by Kaushal Prabhuji. वो YouTube लिंक पूछ रहे थे, वो हमने YouTube लिंक शेयर कर दी है व्यूअर्स के साथ. His question is, sometimes devotees get fallen, they fall down, why doesn't God save them? तो उनका क्वेश्चन जो है, आप कृपया अगर ब्रीफ में थोड़ा हमें बता सकें.
Hare Krishna. So it is said that sometimes devotees, they fall down. So materially it may appear that the devotees have fallen down, and sometimes it is weakness of heart. So there are many reasons given in the Shastras. So again, there is also a definition given of a pakhandi or pashandi, as in Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada explains, is one who may be engaging, in one direction but meditating on another direction. So one may be saying, okay, I am a selfless, yet at the same time meditating on sense objects. And dhyayato vishyan pumsa sangashteshu pajayate. Sangat sanjayate kama kamat krodho vijayate. Krodat bhavati sammohat. Sammohat smati brahmasat. Smati brahmasat buddhinasho buddhinashad vinashyati. So by meditating on sense objects, one develops attachment towards them. This attachment causes the lust, काम to arise, right? So jab काम, lust arises in the heart of such a person, he becomes angry. So the next stage is krodh. With krodh, smati brahmasat. So the memory is bewildered. Delusion arises, then memory is bewildered. And with memory bewildered, intelligence is lost and one falls down. That's one cycle as given in Bhagavad Gita. Second is, there is a case like this, Vaikuntavasis, the doorkeepers were cursed by the Brahmanas. So they came to this material world and became demons. Hiraṇyākṣa, Hiraṇyākṣa. And they caused havoc in this material universe. Yet at the same time, Lord wants to sports with these demons so that he can also enjoy, right? So Lord, he is actually saving these two demons by taking them back home, back to Godhead. And in this material world, the earlier example I gave, the living entities who are engaged and fall down from the position, they suffer. Some devotees, they can go back. So again, when you even chant the holy name, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, you can be committing offenses to the holy name. So how do you nullify the offenses? By chanting it attentively, offenselessly. That is the solution. So we have to take to the solution, and Lord will save them. If we just say that God is our order supplier, then that is the wrong mindset. In the purport, one of the purport, it is said that even in Chaitanya Sampradaya, God is Sampradaya, Srila Prabhupada is referring, many times devotees, they think that Lord Nityananda Prabhu, he is a material being, he is a general human being like us. He is Lord Balaram, he is the Supreme Personality of Savita Godhead. So again, he loves to serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So again, Lord Balaram is constantly engaged in serving Lord Shri Krishna, constantly engaged as his brother, protecting Lord Shri Krishna, seeking all the pleasure of Lord Shri Krishna. Yet at the same time, when people commit offenses at his lotus feet, they fall down. So there are various reasons. So we should be very conscious that all our activities need to be pure. Then we get purified. Otherwise the impurities, they will just expand, right? So those impurities, there may be some past karmas. That impurity may be there. These are called samskaras. These are the impressions we carry with us. And when we don't, take proper measure, then these anarthas, they come out as weeds and they drive away all the nutrition from this, our bhakti lata, and drives us. I really need to leave. Hare Krishna. Kantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Janant Kare Vaishnavind ki Jai, Nitai Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.